Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast, built for real estate professionals that want to work less, earn more, and make an impact in their community. For information on how you can become part of the estate professionals community, visit probatemastery.com. This is the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast and YouTube video. For those of you that are here live, you know the drill. We're going to talk probate. We're going to listen to your deals. You're going to be able to ask any questions that you have. We're just going to talk through the probate process in your real estate business. So this has been a unique week for me. I have not produced much until this year. I started pushing back into production. It's been several years with, onesie twosie, focused since 2020 exclusively on probate training and coaching and building out some of the models that many of you guys are using. And during that time, it was just sphere of influence, past clients, a few probates here and there, some attorney referrals. They just kind of trickle in. We went from comfortably doing over a couple hundred deals as a team, or when I was operating solo, 50, 60 deals a year, to maybe 10, 15 deals a year that my wife usually handles, and some are probate, some are not. We're just not focused on the production side of things. So in this summer, I started ramping up the personal systems, the dialing, the list building, the resources packages, the mailers, the websites. I started ramping all that stuff back up in my market. And I got to be honest, the reason that I did it is to try to prove to a few people that we're not taking action, try to prove that action actually worked. And my goal was not to just dive full both feet back into probate production. I'm kind of rethinking that right now. We've got a few hundred pipeline leads in my market that we've had a conversation with, that we've put packages in front of, that I've had great conversations with. So a few hundred of them. I've been on a number of appointments. And I want to tell you guys about an appointment that I just went on Friday. It was actually a listing appointment. It was my stage 2 appointment. I met this guy for the first time month and a half ago, something like that. I've used him as an example a few times here recently. So if some of this sounds familiar, it's the same client. I'm not just trying to use the same client to get 15 stories out of, but this is the same client that I met maybe a month and a half ago. So the story goes, his mother passes away. She has a house in a hot area of Raleigh, North Carolina, called North Hills. If anyone is familiar with North Hills, you know that it's the spot. Okay. 1968 house, hasn't been updated since 1968. And, but it's a block from North Hills. Everyone wants to live there. So, my ISA had a conversation with him, and he said, no, I got everything handled. I really don't need anything. And the ISA said, well, let us send you a package of some resources, and you can get back in touch with us if you ever need anything. And that's the basic script that I teach. Okay, I teach that to a lot of people, is you don't need anything right now. I'll send you a packet of resources, and you can call me if you need anything. It's super passive. It's designed to get almost everyone to at least go to that next step up as a lead. We've had a conversation. They said, send me some information. So he kicks that lead over to me. I'm coaching. I haven't even built the resources out yet. Okay. Someone like Brad is in here. He was in the coaching. Brad had his resources built long before my personal resources were built out. I just wanted to show how to build a pipeline. So I'm starting to get these leads from my ISA, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta finish the resources. I gotta get the envelopes in, and I'm kind of chasing the process from behind a little bit. Some would call it building a plane on the way off the cliff. And it's a couple of weeks where I didn't send it. And I called my ISA and I said, hey, I need you to call this guy and tell him that the resources, tell him something, tell him lost in the mail, something happened, whatever it was. All right. So we call him, and we'd actually, when we called him, I didn't know he had the resources in his hand. The mail ran really fast that week, and he'd actually just gotten them in his hands. And he told the ISA, look, I just got your resources. I really haven't looked at them. And the ISA tried to shift the call to real estate and say, hey, are there assets involved that might be sold? And he said, yeah, we're probably gonna sell the house, but I've already picked my realtor. Gonna sell the house, but I've already picked my realtor. So pretty much lost for most of us. We hear that on the phone and it's pretty much lost. So here's what I train. I've picked a realtor. Listen, no problem. I don't want to interfere with a good relationship that you might have. Listen, sometimes we make offers. If we were to make you an offer, would you want us to bring it to you or should we send it to your realtor? That tests to see how committed this relationship is. Is it signed? Is it not signed? And he goes, well, I hadn't signed anything, so maybe bring it to me. Next question is, you got to be around sometime in the next week or so. Maybe we could see the house and put some numbers together. And he said, yeah, come by on Friday or something like that. I don't even remember what day it was. So I go by the house. We meet in the front yard for 3 or 4 minutes. I say, well, show me the house. And we go through the garage. And on the way through the garage, I said, oh, and Andrew told me that you had an agent that you were probably going to work with. And he goes, well, I did, but I looked through your packet and I think I'm just going to list with you. Okay. So we've gone through this process for a little while. And by the way, I charged a lot of money. I don't know what you guys charge for commission. I charged probably 50% more for my commission on this than most of you guys are even thinking about charging. Why? I got him a dumpster. I changed the locks for him. I cleaned the house. I coordinated an estate sale. I coordinated a clean out, coordinating paper shredding of some financial documents. Nothing outrageous, but we've gone through this process and he finally called me last week to come out and list the house. So I go out last week to sign the paperwork and we're sitting around and he goes, Bruce, I know that these little things like handling paper shredding and getting a locksmith out and coordinating an estate sale quote and things like that, they're probably nothing to you. But he said to me, I'm completely overwhelmed. He said, you could have charged me 10%. I would have paid it. He said, I'm overwhelmed. You're a lifesaver. He goes, what you sent me changed everything for me because I thought I had to do everything in this process and I didn't know what was what. And he goes, everybody needs a service like this. Everybody needs a service like this. So we signed the listing. Again, I'm at least 50% over what most of you guys are charging, and he didn't blink at it. Okay, and this is what happens when you provide real value. So not only do you need to provide real value, but you also need to learn how to communicate real value. So there's some of you guys that are already providing real value. I'm going to use my wife as an example. She's not listening to this, thank God. Okay. She is an example of an agent that provides real value. When she gets involved in a deal, it runs 1,000% more smooth than when I'm involved in a deal. Okay. She knows how to provide real value. And some of you guys know how to provide real value. Some of you might not. If you don't, take Probate Mastery and put a plan together and learn how to provide real value. Okay. Some of you guys provide real value, but you don't know how to communicate real value. You don't know how to present yourself from a marketing and a prospecting standpoint extremely professionally. Let me tell you though, if you can put those two things together where you've learned how to communicate real value and separate yourself from the hordes, the thousands, the tens of thousands of other agents or investors that are in this space, and then you can actually fulfill what you've promised through communication, that's where the difference happens. Those are the only two things in our business that we need to do. We need to learn how to communicate value, and then we need to learn how to provide it on the back end. And if you have half of that, you're almost there. Okay. The third thing that we need, I guess, would be someone to listen to us. And that's where our probate leads come in. So you got to have someone that it is willing to listen. You got to have an audience. But so those are the three things. You get an audience, you learn how to communicate your value, marketing and prospecting. So for me, I like prospecting on the front end. So developing the relationship through prospecting, generally cold calls. It could be door knocking or walking in an attorney's office. And then from there, your marketing kicks in. Okay. And if your marketing separates you, you're going to get business. I got that business. He didn't know me. I showed up on his door, talked for 3, 5 minutes outside. I hear you have an agent that you're thinking about working with. No, I got your package. I think I'm just going to work with you. Did he know if I was able to provide value and actually fulfill it? No, he had no idea. But the simple fact that it was communicated well separated. So that's what we're looking for from you guys. Learn how to communicate your value and then make sure that you can fulfill any promises that you make. And if you're afraid of certain promises, um, learn how to put yourself out there. I was talking to someone else that's on this call. I am not going to presume to share the USP or name the person unless they want to be named. A few days ago, and we were talking about how most agents are afraid to communicate a real differentiating value for what they do. They're afraid to communicate that value. All right. If all you're doing is saying, hey, you want to work with me because I'm a really good agent, you're not going to get business. Okay. You need to learn how to communicate a differentiating value. Working with me gets you this, and you're not going to get that with other agents. Most of the time, they're capable, other agents are capable of really delivering value, doing a good listing, but they're afraid to communicate things. All right. Do I have any questions? All right, this is a Q&A call, so if anyone wants to chime in and share what you have going on or ask any questions, this is your opportunity.
Can you go over briefly what you put in your package?
Absolutely, yeah. I want to basically throw the kitchen sink at them. All right, what's the probate process going to look like? So there's kind of three different things that I'm focusing on. And I actually communicate this in a phone call as well. There's three different things that I focus on in my packages. One is how to. How to. So you need to have a couple of things in there that tell them how to probate, how to get through probate. What's their timeline or their checklist maybe look like? Second, connection to professionals. What are the professionals that they're going to need, and can you make that connection? So are they going to need an appraiser? Are they going to need a realtor? Obviously, we fill that role potentially if we're or an investor. If we are an investor, do they need an attorney? We need to be able to communicate and show them their need for an attorney and offer to make those connections. Connections like estate sale companies and landscapers and locksmiths and dumpster dropper offers. Okay. All these are companies that I connected with this week to help fulfill what this client needed. Okay. Clean out crew. All right. So connections. So one is how-to guides. Two are professionals. Three is details on how to manage assets. So how do people manage assets? How do they manage assets? What are their options for assets? And we always think real estate exclusively. Let me tell you how many I've gotten a lot of real estate business over the years by talking about a car first. So you call and say, hey, I help with the probate process from A to Z. And they go, oh, that's really great. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, let me also make an offer on the house. Okay, it's a huge change in topics. So I like to transition a little bit more. I like to say I help with kind of how-to guides, providing resources and information on how to do different stages of probate. I provide connections to different vendors, and professionals that some people need as they move through probate. And then the last thing is details on managing assets. And I don't go details on managing real estate. I say details on managing assets, vehicles, personal belongings, collectibles, real estate, things like that. Okay, so I'm kind of painting a pretty broad brush. What do I want? I want the real estate. but I don't want to come off like the person that only wants the real estate that's not going to help with anything else. And then they might say, yeah, we're probably going to sell the car. What do people normally sell first when they're in probate? The car. It's almost always one of the first things that they sell. Okay. So if I can get in front of them and look at a car, I'm probably going to get in front of them to look at the real estate at the same time or shortly after. So I really like talking about assets in general. And then when they start doing anything with vehicles, am I a car buyer? You bet. I'll buy a car. Am I a car guy? Do I know what the difference in engines are and different makes and models by name only? It doesn't mean anything to me. If I can make $500 on a car, but it puts me in front of a prospect that's going to sell their house in a couple of months, I'm going to go buy a car. Okay. I'm relationship first. That's what I want. I want to get face to face as fast as possible. So, David's question: what goes in the package? Brad's question. Sorry. How-to guides, connection to professionals they might need, and information on managing assets. Lou.
Yeah, and there's a question on that too. Like, do you provide a sample of that package in the probate mastery course?
Yeah, we're putting some samples of resources that you can send out in Probate Mastery. Um, there's going to be three. It's almost like you guys just teed me up to answer it this way. So please, I wasn't planning on doing this, at least not this early on the call. There's three different types of packages that I put into training. So the first is going to be things that are going into Probate Mastery. So I'm actively working on the resources that are going into Probate Mastery. Second is I've been building resources with private coaching clients and people in group coaching for better part of a year at this point. So anything that we've built with coaching clients, stay with coaching clients. So when you coach, we build your packages, and that is over and above what you get in Mastery. And then lastly, because I've recognized that a lot of people don't they don't really get going. They might coach and they just kind of fail to launch. That's where this new partnership program has started to launch from. So partnership is where I send all my resources into your market and hand you the warm pipeline leads that we create. Okay, so there's three different types of material that you guys can get, and they're all good. Like everything's good. It's just if you're in mastery and you get it, you're going to do some building on your own. If you're in coaching and you get it, you're going to do some building with me. If you're in partnership, you just get what I already have built, and we send it from our partnership platform. Right.
There's a question about that. I got a DM, but it basically asking, how can you find out if there's marketing partnerships available in certain counties? Like, how can you determine that?
Yeah, you would need to book a discovery call. If you would drop, not you, please, just for your sake, put the group success manager discovery call link into chat. So there's some areas where I'm hesitant to go into partnership, just because I think a different model might work a little bit better than mine. Because mine is, I seriously spend cash. I'm a pretty lazy agent, guys. I don't personally want a cold call. I don't want to do a ton of nurture and follow up calls. I don't want to be pushing mail envelopes into mailboxes every day. I don't want to print and send off my own resources packages. There's a lot of things that I either don't want to do or I don't have time to do. So I spend money on building and having a system that operates. And so for me, when I get a lead, a cold probate lead, I'm normally going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $30, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, depends on how big the market is. It's been as low as $23. Right now it's in the high 20s. I'm going to spend about $30 on every lead that I have in my system. But that $30 on every lead that I get in my system is generally going to put at least 20% of them into my pipeline. and I'm going to convert about 25% of those. So we're looking at like a 5% conversion rate out of my probate lists. I don't get 5% conversion rate if I don't throw the system at them. Okay. And that's just my system. That's without me cold calling. That's without me doing all my own nurture calls. That's without me pushing mail into my own mailbox or sending my own resources out. I'm following the system that I built. You guys could take over pieces of that system yourself and do just fine, but you're going to spend a little bit more of your own time doing it. Me, I just want the warm leads. I want the people that have had a high level conversation and are ready to have a serious talk, and then I get involved. All right. Lou, I feel like I kind of eluded that question somehow. So did I answer that question, or did I sort of get sidetracked somehow?
No, I think it's good. It's like, but like, because you give a good picture of what you got to look at. But I think what the question was asking is like, what data do you need to look at to figure out if like a county
Oh,
is
yeah.
viable or
Yeah, do a
not, you
discovery
know?
call with us. Yeah, do
Yeah.
a discovery call and we'll kind of look. I want counties that have more than 40 leads.
Okay.
Less than 40 leads, it works, but your lead cost throws my numbers off a lot. So when you're in smaller counties, I mean, 100 leads is ideal because normally you can get a reasonable price on your raw data, but less than 40 is your raw data ends up costing $20 per lead and really throws my margins off a lot. So I like counties that are at least 40 minimum. More is better. And then I would make sure that the average commission in my area was at least 10,000 minimum average commission minimum. If you're in a market where your average commission's on the lower end, maybe average commission's 9 or 10, there are absolutely ways to increase that. So average commission in my market is going to be about 12,000 for the average agent listing the average house in my market, but mine's going to be 15,000 because I just charge more for my listings. How do I do that? I communicate my value better and I provide a little bit more value than anyone else. Okay. So you want to be in a market where you can get at least 10,000 on your average deal and where the county has it at minimum 40 and 40. I get a little uncomfortable with 40. I'm in a few counties that are smaller like that. I really like pushing closer to 100 if I can.
Okay, thanks. And
And it can't be an area where absolutely nobody answers the phone.
mm,
And before you guys go, well, nobody answers the phone in my market, it's because you're calling the wrong way. Okay. But there are definitely a couple of isolated areas where even using my approach, it's hard to get people to answer the phone. So I've got a few markets that are a little tougher because, I mean, I'll blitz people 20 times in a month. Really, that 20 times is over the course of 5 or 6 days, and they're going to answer the phone. Like if I who here just wave at me if you don't normally answer an unknown number. Wave at me. Okay. If I called you 5 times today and you just kept seeing my number, what's the likelihood that you would answer my call? Anybody it would go up. Bill shakes his head, wouldn't go up. Melanie, it would go up. Okay. I'm not gonna get Bill. Okay. But I'm gonna get Melanie. Who else would answer the phone? Like, who is this? I've seen this number 4 times, 5 times. Okay. All right. I'd answer the phone. Okay. There are people that know. I don't need everybody to answer the phone. I don't need everyone to answer the phone. I don't need Bill to answer the phone. I need some of those other people that never answer a single missed call. I need them to answer the phone. If it's 50-50, that works for me. Okay. Bill happens to be in one of the markets that's a little bit tougher. Okay. So there's certain areas where people just will not answer, even with an aggressive call approach. There's other areas where you hit them 3 or 4 times in a day, they're probably going to answer. So 40 leads a month is what is ideal. And the only reason 40 leads in a month, the only reason it's 40 is generally wherever you're getting your leads, the average cost per lead just starts to get really high if you're not getting 70, 80, 100 or more leads every single month. So, for example, I can go into a market with 100 leads on an average month, and it might cost me $350. So that means it's $3.50 for my average lead. Okay. I could go into another market that averages 40 and maybe there's a minimum of $250 to buy the leads in that county. Suddenly that the lead price on those is starting to throw my numbers off a lot. I like my average lead to cost me just in raw data less than $5 in a perfect world. Okay. It doesn't mean that I won't pursue the smaller markets, but the price point needs to go up a little bit. The commission rate needs to go up a little bit. Anything else, Lou? Your hand was still up, so I don't know if that was
There was one another question from earlier asking about coaching.
discovery
And
call, please. Yeah,
yeah.
coaching, a little bit different. So basically, here's what I do for coaching. Coaching's evolved a lot here recently. If anyone here has already been in coaching, so you've already been in coaching, you paid for coaching. I'm looking at a couple of specific people. I want you guys to consider doing this because if you've paid for coaching, odds are we could get you rolled into a system like this. So when I do coaching, I train. I've got a big list of things that have already been trained on that are a little bit more nuanced than you get in probate mastery. Not better. Okay, I want to be really clear. I'm not like blocking you guys out from the best content in probate mastery, but a little more nuanced. So when I coach, it's like, hey, this is the specific model that we are running our business on. So here are the lessons on those. And then that way, when you guys show up into the coaching sessions, it's really heavily based on practice and role play. Heavily based on practice and role play. Yes, there's some training. Yes, there's some nuanced education in these, but for the most part, it'll be like, hey, here's how you change the topic from concierge service to real estate, and we talk about it for 10 minutes, and then from there, we're going to practice this. So this is my weekly coaching schedule these days. People that were in an old coaching program used to have a specific day and time every week that they'd show up for a while. And now people that are in coaching, and if anyone here, so I'm looking at Brad, by the way. Brad, I just keep looking at you. You're welcome to join this. You've been in coaching before. It's all you. It's all you to jump in these. So anybody that that's getting coaching now, we're doing 7 plus. What's this? Eight calls a week, and each call has a specific topic, and we do repeat those topics over and over and over and over again. You can show up for a year, 2 years, 3 months, however much value you need, however often you want to get in and practice these techniques is fine. So we focus a lot on cold call role play. We do attorney prospecting once or twice a week. We do lead nurturing, prospecting, training, and role play at least once a week, normally twice. So lead nurturing, what happens after the conversation started, whether that's you or an ISA maybe. We do appointment strategies and role play every week. We also do objections and call control role play. Sometimes we do role plays on oddball questions that people ask when we're having a conversation, how to respond to those. A lot of times those come in these objections. So this is kind of a weekly workshop training and role play schedule for those that are in coaching. And our partners are all in this as well. So this is the schedule for both partners and people that are just strictly doing coaching and not partnership. All right. Hopefully my screen was sharing that whole time. Yeah, 8 sessions every week. Every week. I go back and forth on adding more. It's a bear for me to run 8 sessions. It is a bear. Those 3 days, today, Wednesday, and Thursday, get to be pretty oppressive for me. Right now, I'm running every single one of those sessions. I'm thinking about adding a 9th session. I don't know how I'm going to do it and keep my head straight. All right. Joyce.
I have a question about calling the people 4 or 5 times a day. Do you leave a message each time or?
No, not each time. Let's say I've called you 3, 4, 5 times. It's hard to do that. It takes a lot of dedication. Most of us aren't going to do that every day. And I don't like triple dialing someone back to back to back to back, where it's so. I'll use my brother as an example. If he calls me and I miss his call, he's going to call again in 3 seconds. No. So we're to do this. You're legitimately devoting at least half of your day to that person. Okay, maybe you can only do this with 5 or 6 people. And it doesn't have to be 4 or 5 times, but I like, if I'm going to call someone today, I like to call a number of times. People that don't answer unknown numbers, if you call and they are the type of person, and a whole bunch of you waved at me earlier, you're the type of person that doesn't answer an unknown number, I would say shame on you realtors, but I don't answer unknown numbers either. Okay. If you're the type of person, I have zero chance of getting you on the phone if I'm only going to call you once and just like, oh man, I guess I didn't get them. No chance. Okay. But if I can hit you in an hour, maybe again in another hour, maybe a fourth time 3 hours later, I've suddenly gotten a much higher likelihood that you're going to answer the phone. If you ignore me today, um, if you ignore me today, I might give you a break tomorrow and then do the same thing the next day, something like that. I'm not telling you this is your exact sequence, but these are some examples. If you have ducked me 3 times that second day that I've called you, I'm definitely leaving a message. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I might give you a break for a couple of weeks. And then maybe I do the same thing again 2 weeks later, 2 days with 3, 4 calls in a day with a message on that second day. But I'm not leaving you a message every time. Video text, I don't. Um, I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I don't, because I would never in a million years open a video text that was just texting me from someone that I didn't know. Um, Are there people that will? Yeah, you bet. You might as well just go ahead and try to scam them while you're at it and ask them to wire you money, because if they do, they're generally going to be a gullible person. Okay, so I wouldn't open a video text. I just don't trust links from people that I don't know. So I'm not against the video text. I just don't know that it's going to work. I normally don't cold text either. I know people that do cold text. I love BombBomb, but only after I've had an interaction. Once I've started a relationship. Hey guys, I'm butting in here with a quick ask. If you're getting value out of this coaching today, I want to invite you to check out my Probate Mastery trainings over at www.probatemastery.com. Probate Mastery is for you if you're an agent or an investor that wants to work with motivated sellers that have inherited real estate that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. These sellers are more appreciative, willing to trust your expertise, and less likely to nickel and dime you over commission or price. Why is that? They're often in the middle of a complex probate or an estate administration process, and this means that real estate is very often a burden on them, and they simply need the help. Inside of Probate Mastery, I teach you exactly where to source your leads, how to establish value, and offer your service in a way that quickly makes you, as the professional, your market's expert in the probate space. If you want to know a little bit more, go over to www.probatemastery.com. Hope to see you guys inside of the community. Thanks. All right. I'm not going to answer the question on how much coaching costs, mostly because it changes, and I don't want it living online forever. I was undercharging. I will tell you guys, I was undercharging for a while. And when somebody comes and they want to pay what I was undercharging, it's really hard for me to financially make sense of keeping coaching going at the prices that I used to charge. So it's a little pricey, but it does change a little bit. And I'd prefer you guys, we don't do hard sales, but we'll show you a really honest upfront pricing if you have a discovery call. And that's not my way of getting you in front of a hardcore closer. All right, Keith, what's up? How are you, man?
Good, Bruce. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Hey, just curious, your reaction to somebody that, basically calls you a glorified ambulance chaser by going after this type of business. Is it just, next, moving on to somebody that's willing and ready to accept our assistance?
Yeah.
Or do you have something different than that?
That's a kick in the gut. I want you guys to know that when I get that, I'm personally, I'm kind of done calling for a bit. Like it takes me a minute. There's people on here that are like, "What do you mean, Bruce? You're supposed to know everything to say." If I ever get that, it does not feel good, and I think it's more than reasonable for someone to be like, "I got to take the day off." I think it's more than reasonable. I would prefer, number one, to change my delivery where no one ever says that. If you get that frequently, your delivery is wrong. If you get it once in a while, you might have perfect delivery and you just caught the wrong person at the wrong time. So I usually take the fall on my sword approach. So I'll tell you, you're just a glorified ambulance chaser. Your kind is scum of the earth. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, so I always want it to be genuine and authentic, but still be a little bit rehearsed. So I think you guys need to practice this. If you're going to be on the phone any amount of time, you do need to practice your response a little bit, but it needs to come off as genuine. So normally for me, it's no, ma'am, I'm so sorry that I sounded like that. I really didn't mean to come off this way. Should I just let you go, or could I maybe tell you what I called for? So it is a fall on my sword. I'm shocked. The truth is, I don't like it. I probably am going to be stammering a little bit. So why not practice with the stammers when we practice with the polish? Let me tell you, it's this and this and this. Keith, I don't know where the background noise is coming from. I hear it. I'm going to mute you. Might have been you. Okay, if it was, you can come back off mute in a second. So I want to be practiced with responding to those, but I'm going to tell you, if you're hearing that often, there's something wrong with the way you're opening your call and presenting your value. Okay, and it's fixable, but there's something wrong. All right, the guy, by the way, this guy that I just listed, he said, your service is something that everybody needs. I wish that I'd known that you existed sooner. I can't imagine that anyone would ever be upset with you calling and communicating this value to them. And he goes, I don't like people cold calling me, but this is exactly what we all need. And that's what people have. If we can communicate the value properly, you should get that kind of response from everybody. And if somebody's just an angry person, do I really want to deal with them? I don't love dealing with emotionally volatile people. So I have to ask myself a question. Did I trigger that emotional volatility? And is it my fault that they got that way? Or are they just emotionally volatile and maybe I don't need to work with them? All right. Hey, Christy.
Hi, thank you. First of all, thank you for all the information. This is great. And I think that working with volatile people, whether it's this situation or any, it's something that we always reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
But being the fact that you might call, let's say you called me 5 times, what would the conversation look like after you called me the 4th time and I finally do pick up? Because in my mind, if somebody's calling me, the same number is calling me over and over and over, it's probably an emergency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you end up picking up. So what does the conversation look like? Does it just look like any conversation that you would have if they picked up on the first time, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the call is always about your probate application here in X County. I believe that you were listed as the personal representative for the estate of fill in the blank. So it's about the probate application in county name. I believe you were listed as the personal representative for the estate of blank. Am I right? Are you the person that's handling probate in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, I know call's kind of out of the blue. Do you mind if I take a moment and tell you what I called for?
Yes. Okay. I love it.
Basically, Christy, what we do is first off, I need to introduce myself a little more formally. My name is Bruce Hill. I operate an independent, it's not with the county, independent company. It's called Estate Aid Network. And essentially, what we do is we give resources and kind of like a concierge service for anyone in probate. It handles A to Z. And Christy, I know you don't know me. I'm not trying to bore you with a million and one details. Can I ask, did you just get started with probate like in the last couple of weeks, or have you been in the middle of it for a bit?
Kind of in the middle of it for a bit.
Okay. So any objection that you might have given me after I've presented what I called for is generally pretty much gone because I'm now in control of where we're talking. What are we talking about? We're not talking about concierge service at this point. I didn't ask you if you needed concierge services. I asked you if you just got started with probate in the last couple of weeks or if you've been in the middle of it for a while. And you said in the middle of it for a while. Oh, okay. So like, did you get an attorney to help with the process or are you kind of doing probate independently right now?
I think I'm still trying to figure it out. My siblings and I are still trying to figure it out.
Okay, independently, just kind of
Yes.
bumping along. Okay, again, what are we not talking about? I don't need you. I do need you. It's talking about
Yeah.
whether you hired an attorney or not. Okay, so I'm just going to run through some questions to try to get them giving me a little feedback, see if I can start to paint a picture of what's going on in their situation. So, opening about your probate application and county name. It's about the estate of so and so. Are you the representative? Yes. Could I tell you what I called for real quick? Yes. Short pitch. Short pitch. Move off of the pitch and figure out what their situation is with some questions.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Who else? Anybody else have some
Hey, Bruce.
yeah, go for it.
So I find that so I'm able to get to introduce myself in the pitch, but after that, I feel like I've been running into calls where people are like just anxious to get off the phone with me
Absolutely.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, well we got all that covered. Thanks. We don't need it. We don't need your help or services." So I'm like thinking, what can I do, or what question can I ask to keep them on the phone and to keep them talking instead of just kind of like accepting defeat and
Okay. So this is where we get into art versus science. So science is open, ask for permission to tell them what you called for, give them a short pitch or USP, short, ask a couple of questions. That's the science to it. And that science works all the time, but I see people do that exact same process and get a different result, and it's always because their tonality or how they flow into the question, how they pause, different things like that are usually need some refinement. So I role play with people pretty much all day every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on those coaching calls, and folks will show up and they'll role play the specific process, and they say all the right words. And for me, when I'm the prospect role playing back to someone, I give responses based on how they made me feel. And one person says the same words as another person, and my response is, "No, I'm good. I really don't need anything. Goodbye." Okay. And another person says all the same words, and I'm like, "Yeah, we did just get started. I think we're okay right now." So there's a huge difference between "I'm good, I don't need anything, goodbye," and "Yeah, I just kind of got started. I think I have things handled for now." Huge difference between those two customer responses. One is conversational and leaves me room. So I have to, when I come out of telling them what I'm offering, as soon as I come out of that, I have to flow naturally into a couple of questions that take them off of the topic of having everything handled. Now, I'm going to lead them right back to whether they have things handled or not. So the way that I do it is I'll just go, so kind of think of it like a concierge service. I'm going to summarize this, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of details. I guess my question is, did you guys just apply for probate sometime in the last couple of weeks, or have you been in the middle of it for a while? Go ahead and give me an answer.
Yeah, we've actually applied a month ago.
A month ago. Okay. So, objection number one that people frequently give at this point is it's really early, i.e., I don't need anything. So, I've gotten you to say, hey, it's really early, without it sounding like you don't need anything. Okay. Another objection that they frequently give is we have everything finished. Okay. So if I go, did you guys just get started within the last couple of weeks, or are you kind of most of the way through probate? And you go, yeah, we're most of the way through probate. I've now gotten you to vocalize what would have been an objection, but now it's just conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I moved to attorney. And did you guys work with an attorney? Have you hired an attorney, or are you kind of doing probate independently? What's the next objection that people like to give us to shut us down?
Yeah, they haven't. Their attorney's handling everything.
Our attorney's handling everything. What do they say to me? Yeah, we've hired an attorney. Oh, perfect. What do I not have now? I don't have an objection. I have a conversational answer of, yeah, we've hired an attorney. Oh, perfect. I'll tell you, most people that have an attorney and they're really early, they usually kind of feel like they have things buttoned up, but then there's some other folks that are just completely overwhelmed with the process. Where do you think you are right now?
Yeah, I am actually pretty overwhelmed with the whole process.
Okay. All right. So, I kind of walked you in and let you reveal that there's some overwhelm, and now I have room to continue the call. But if you said, yeah, I think we have things handled right now, you've now given me all three objections that people were going to blindside me with, but they're not objections. They're conversation. So, okay, so you guys have, you just got started, you have an attorney, you think you have things handled for right now. We are having a conversation. Are you trying to get me off of the phone? Not necessarily, because of the way that I kind of walked you through that. And now you've conversed and you've told me, yeah, we're early in the process. We have an attorney. I think we have things handled perfect. I tell you what I'll do is I'll send you some information on what I do, and I want you to take a look at it and give me a call if you ever need anything. Is that fair?
Yeah. So once you do that, you send out the information, or how soon after are you following up?
Within a week, as soon as the information will have arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I want them to have that in their hands for a little bit. And if they blew me off and we couldn't talk about real estate on that call, let's just say they said, yeah, send me the details. Listen, sometimes that happens. They go, yeah, just send me the details. I'll look at it. I'll call you if I need anything. And I can just hear, I'm not gonna break this person down. I'll send them the information. I don't need to bring real estate up. But if they're conversational, they're like, yeah, absolutely. Send me that. I'll be glad to look at it. Thank you so much. You bet. I'm gonna start moving through the rest of the call, and I'm gonna talk about real estate, talk about assets.
Okay.
If it was just a package that I sent out, I'm gonna call about a week later. I want them to have it in their hands for a day or two, and then I'm gonna call. Did you get it? Hey, last time we talked, you said blank. I wanted to see how things were going.
All right. Thanks.
Yep, for sure. Joyce.
Okay, my second question is, you were talking about your concierge services, and how do you go about pricing those? Do you just increase it in the commission, or do you just separate what they need from, whatever, depending on the service, or how do you do that?
Show of hands, does anyone here price concierge services separately? And if the answer is yes or no, both answers are fine. Anybody else price concierge services separately? I know there are some folks that price concierge services. Who offers concierge services and has literally never fulfilled concierge services? Okay. So there's a lot of people that may not price it separately, but they really haven't had to offer it or fulfill it yet. So for me, it heavily depends on when I'm doing providing the concierge services and what I provide, and I'll give you the answer to most people would be hey, listen, a lot of people ask me why I would provide like this level of service and not really expect anything in return. I know that probate can be pretty complicated. I know that there's things that I know how to do that are pretty easy for me that are complicated for someone that's never done it before. I want you to just call me and ask me questions. I can walk you through how to do certain things. I can make connections to you. I can even coordinate some things for you. Now, personally, my income, how I put food on my table is when there's a real estate need. So I also operate a real estate brokerage, and I have no idea if you're going to sell a house, but if you did, the only thing I would ever ask in return for the concierge services is just give me a shot to show you what kind of price I might be able to bring you. Is that fair? And then,
So,
when I go on the listings, I charge more than everybody else. I don't say that, but I'm just telling you guys, I charge more for my listings than my competition.
but what I find sometimes is people, they say they're going to do certain things and, to the house or whatever. They want to do all of that. And then a lot of times they don't have the resources to do it.
Yep.
And so as a result, it never gets done. So, you're waiting for them to do it, and there's one excuse after the other. So I didn't know if I could offer service to handle it for them.
For sure. Yep.
Maybe take it out of the proceeds of the sale if you could, like a bill to them for the services.
Let's
Is
use a
that
hypothetical here.
okay?
Hypothetically, are these lots of repairs and things that need to be done, or are they just kind of little ticky tacky, like cleaning up the front yard, painting that wall, that kind of thing? What are we?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's just getting the house cleaned out. Like they just don't, they just slow about doing it, and it just takes some months to get it done.
Yeah.
And I know I could get in there with a team of people and get it done. And
Yeah.
even or maybe just a minor repair, like a little drywall repair in the ceiling or something like that. It just kind of would be better as far as the house itself, could be sold as it is. Maybe it doesn't need all the paint and stuff, but some things you're going to run into appraisal issues with, a house like that. So I just decided that maybe I could take care of that for them
Yep.
and I could get it done quicker. And it just, like you say, it's so overwhelming, the whole process for them. And when
So
you got to go in and get all this stuff out. So I
I
was thinking about
frequently
doing something like that, didn't quite know how
love
to
it.
price it. And even then, like if you do certain things and you don't want to put all this time and effort into it, and then they decide they're not going to sell, or a wholesaler come by or something like that, or and then you've got your money tied up in it.
So when I go on an appointment and I start showing them what I do, I lay out three different listing plans. Okay. And one of them includes like everything. And so when we're talking and I go, do you think I could do that for you? And they go, yeah. Do you think I could coordinate that for you? And they say, yeah. And then I say, just so we're clear, when I coordinate these things, I'll cover the cost. I'll add it back to the commission so that I kind of get made whole. Is that okay with you? And they say, yeah. And then for me, it's usually, hey, you want me to take care of that for you? Listen, I've got someone that can bring a dumpster over and we can knock that out. Is that okay? Listen, I'll just get a locksmith and we'll bring them in here and I'll take care of that. Does it work for you? I'll just do this. Does that work for you? I'll just do that. Does that work for you? And people kind of follow along like, yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And and I think it's wise kind of up in the beginning of the appointment before you really go through is say, look, there's people all the time have things that they need to do before they're ready to get the house on the market. And normally, if it's something that I can do, I'll just ask you if I can do it for you. And then what happens if it's a cost, then I'll usually just eat the cost on my end and I'll add it to the commission that I charge. Does that make sense? And they say, yeah. And then I go through and when I see things, I go, You want me to get the wall painted for you? Do you want me to clean the backyard? Do you want me to cut the tree down? Do you want me to get the dumpster over here? Do you want me to change the locks? And I just kind of go through and I say, let me do that. Let me do that. Let me do this. Let me do this. And I'm kind of building up this list. And then when I sit down, I go, this is what the commission we were going to settle on. I'm going to do these things. I need to get reimbursed. Let me add 1% or let me add 1.5%. Does that work for you? And they say, yeah. And when you present it, I'm pretending like everyone says yes. Some people go, no, I think we'll just do it ourselves. That's fine. But when you present it the way I am, where it's just like, hey, let me do that for you. That's how you need to sound. That's art, not science. Science is offer to take care of those things for them. The art is how you say it. Hey, why don't I just bring a landscaper over and get that knocked out next week? People don't normally say no when you convey the offer that way. And I absolutely would. And normally, whatever the cost is going to be, I usually try to 2x what the cost is going to be to pay me back for the time and the energy and the convenience of managing that thing for them.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Brad, were you trying to share something a minute ago or no?
Yeah, I was, for me, when I offer people like, hey, we'll front the cost to do your property cleanup and repairs. And for a lot of people that are in probate, for them to kick in 10 grand or whatever it is for some repairs or cleanup, they're not going to get that money back until probate closes for 9 months, a year, whenever it is. So for me, I'll just get reimbursed at the close of escrow. And then I do just charge them a little bit more in the commission for them. If I'm going to front some costs, then I'll charge another, 0.5%. In California, most attorneys will tell you that you can't charge more than 5% total commission. So it's hard to really charge any more than 3 if, because you're going to end up having to give at least 2 to the other side.
Is that because it's probate or is that, I don't understand.
Yeah, I've had a few probate attorneys who have told me, you can't charge more than a total of 5%. So I don't know if this is truly a law or not, but I've had a few attorneys tell me this. California.
Bill, is that a probate law in California? And let me tell you how I'd get around it. Okay, I get around this all the time. I'm with a national brokerage and I have a split that I have to pay to the national brokerage. Well, sometimes on some plans, I have seriously dropped 5 grand into getting that listing ready. And when I get that back in a commission, I'm not willing to share 20 or 30 or 10 or whatever your split is % of what I'm just getting reimbursed. So I always, when I've done money like that, I always bill it separately through a service company that I own. Okay, so I have a service company that I own and I bill my signs, my lock changes, my inspections, anything that I've covered for them. I just bill it as a service on the settlement statement.
Right.
And then that way I'm sharing my percentage with my percentage of profit with my broker.
True. I mean, I like you said, I do the same thing where if I'm spending 5 grand to have your house painted, that's just going to be a reimbursement check from escrow. That's not part of I'm increasing my commission. But because I'm fronting costs for this, I'm paying my painter or I'm paying some people up front, then I am going to charge you a little bit higher commission rate. Which, like you said, people are happy with that. They're fine with that.
I think there's a potential loop around potential. I don't want to get anyone into trouble with your states and your brokers, but there's a potential loop around where you could charge an extra marketing fee and label it as a marketing fee to make that little bit of extra outside of the listing commission. Again, you guys, I'm just thinking out of the box here. I do this. You guys got to make sure that you're clear with brokers and states and things like that. But I do that, especially if I'm running into a hard cap on a state, and my state doesn't give me a hard cap on what I'm allowed to charge in commissions. But if I was, then I'd look at trying to recoup some of what I'm not allowed to charge in commissions as a marketing fee to a separate entity. Okay. Anybody confirm if Brad's hearing something weird from California attorneys that you can't charge more than 5%? That doesn't really make sense to me, but you are in California, so all right. Hey Joe, what's up, man?
So let's say if you do all that, okay, like what you're talking about, you do a clean out or whatever the heck it is you do, and you say, okay, yeah, we'll just work it out at the closing where you can pay me, and then you get somebody that says, well, guess what? I'm canceling the listing, and then you're sort of stuck holding the bag.
I don't do it with everybody, but I do things like this with certain people. So if I am gonna do, let's say I go with my highest package, which I'll basically call my platinum plan, and that plan pays me 5% or 5.5% to me, to my side, and it's based on what the price of the house is. That plan might pay me 8% if it's a low priced house, or 4% if it's a really, really high priced house. So whatever that is, I've given them my highest plan. I'm doing all these different things, and in that, there will be, if you cancel, it's going to cost you this much money because I'm getting my investment back. So I'll have a clause that if you cancel, I'm getting my investment back. You're not canceling without this. Or if I'm doing all this, you got to sign for a year, and you have to agree that if I get an offer that fulfills these terms, that you'll accept it or pay me the commission. I just want to be really clear to them what I'm expecting from them if I'm sinking money into the deal. And I'm really hard on those things. So if I've dropped $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, which is almost never that I drop that much. Usually it's a couple thousand into a deal, then it's a long listing, and they have to agree that if I get offers that match specific terms, that I've fulfilled my obligations and that they owe me a commission. They don't have to accept that offer, but they agree up front that if I've gotten these terms matched with an offer, I've done my job. Okay. And they can't
So then you
cancel.
would
And if they do
almost have
cancel,
to-
they have to pay me back.
So you almost have to have it where you get a lawyer to put a lien on the house then.
I know, I just don't let them out of the listing unless they pay me back.
Yeah. Well, I come from a lawyer state. You know, things are not always that easy, if you get what I mean.
Can I make a suggestion? Because I do this on ours, on my listing agreements. So it states on there's an X amount that if the seller cancels a contract or the listing, that they have to reimburse me X amount of money before. And also, and it sounds like you're in New York or something, and I'm in California. Illinois.
Cook
Okay.
County.
So over here too, we have had a couple of agents who, same thing, their client needs the painting done. And so they've written an addendum that states the listing agent to front money for XYZ, whether client, fulfills the listing agreement or cancels the listing agreement, they agree to pay before they close the escrow. Kind of like Bruce just said, he doesn't let them out of the listing. You put it on paper, you have a paper trail, receipts are turned in. So that's how I've seen agents do it here. But as far as I'm concerned, if I, spend $1,000 on cleaning and just photography, and then they cancel, it's in the agreement that they have to reimburse me for my amount.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you're clear with people in a polite way, they'll accept. And listen, the random person that doesn't, you guys are like, I just dealt with someone that didn't. Guess who's not going to be my client? I don't do deals with. Okay, this is my rule, and you guys, those of you that don't like my rule, that's fine. I don't do business with assholes. That's my rule. Okay, you don't like what I just conveyed to you professionally? You don't like it? No problem. I didn't want to do a deal with you anyway. Okay. But it's very few people, if you convey it properly, confidently, that are going to think that that's unreasonable. Look, I'm going to spend $1,000 getting your property ready. I want a 6-month agreement. If I don't do my job and I can't get you a buyer at least this price, then I've missed the mark. But if you're canceling for any other reason, you just have to pay me back for what I've spent on marketing the property. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
thank you. I've never had it happen, but I was thinking about it when you were talking about it. Like, oh my God, this could happen.
Mhm.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
It could, and then we need to limit our exposure a little bit. I'm not the agent that normally pays huge money on staging and things like that. If I'm going to pay money to get a listing ready, it's usually going to be I'll pay my inspector to do a pre-listing inspection. Technically, he charges me after the deal closes, so I really don't have money coming out of my pocket there. I will pay a contractor to make up to $2,000 worth of repairs noted on the inspection. I have a deal with the contractor where I pay on a net 60 and they reduce the bill that I end up paying at the end of the day by 20%. So it really only cost me $1,600. And those things, when I do those things, and maybe I buy a home warranty, which I'm not going to pay for till closing, and I do some of those, I just make sure that I adjust my price to to be 2x whatever the cost of those are going to be. And sometimes I'm 1.5x, sometimes I'm 2.5x, but I usually am trying to get about 2 times more for running, two times the cost of running those expenses on behalf of the seller.
Thank you. And thank you, Christy.
All right, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. I believe, hopefully we've got a discovery call link in chat. If anyone wants to learn a little bit about coaching or partnership, you guys go ahead and book. We haven't even officially announced this. It's been kind of unofficially talked about. So we're going to officially announce the partnership program soon. There's a couple of little wrinkles that we're adding out, but people are joining, where essentially I'm just running their entire system for them, and they're just taking the conversations that have happened and everything. So if anyone wants that detail, jump on a discovery call, and same thing for coaching, same discovery call link. And if you guys need anything at all, join us again next Tuesday with your questions. Thanks so much.